Try not to laugh. So, guys, what we're going to do in this video, which I think is number 4, I just got some news on the interwebs about some things that I'm not really happy about. So I'm going to try to, calm down about that shit and lay it out there. So this is a, clarion call to all you guys that are awake to play with me, I hope to God, and join together. And the point behind all this is to preserve the earth as the amazing platform of reflective love that it was created to be. And I'm very passionate about that. I'm trying really hard not to be angry about that. But I am a little bit angry about that. But I'm extremely passionate about what we've come to know, those of us that have been awakened and have been posting all this stuff and have spent our lifetimes wondering, why am I here and what am I doing and whatever, and then boom, you get awakened. I'm going to be honest with you guys. From 2012 to 2017, I had no idea, not a clue. Most of you guys are getting woken up. I will back up to 1990, which is to me so long ago, but 5 seconds ago in my experience. I'm just going to tell you how it rolled, because if you're awake, this will make perfect sense to you. If you've never been awakened, this will probably fly right over your head. So, segue to the awakened ones. Here's what happened to me in 1990. I literally had just graduated college. I had been partying my ass off and having a shitload of fun with my best friend Heidi. And there was nowhere to go and nothing to do. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do with the rest of my life, which is irrelevant, because what happened in the awakening spectrum of my life at that moment was, I remember it perfectly. I was walking down a sidewalk in Columbus, Ohio, and I had to pee. Logically went into a bar. It was really late at night. There was festivals going on. It was the middle of summer. And I walked into this bar. I went to the bathroom. Peed, obviously. And I remember I walked out of the stall and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, now what? Now what? I don't know what to do. Now what do I do? And I had spent, prior to that moment, my last year of college, I had been hanging out with a shaman, a Native American guy who taught me how to bead, took me to sweat lodges, and explained to me that he had chosen 11 women to be soothsayers, I guess you would say. And I didn't even know what the hell he was talking about, but he taught me a lot of stuff about Native Americans, right? So, but that was done, and here I am in this weird transition of my life, and I looked in the mirror and I said, this is important. I looked in the mirror. I looked in a mirror in my own eyeballs, and I was like, now what? And I washed my hands, and I walked out of the bathroom, and there he was. I mean, literally, my soul mirror was sitting on a bar stool with his feet on another bar stool, watching television. So, he's here, and the TV's over there. And I looked up at the TV, and it was jet skiing on some lake, and it showed up at the bottom of the TV. Think about these little clues, you guys. Looked in the mirror, walked out, saw my perfect mirror, and then we're both looking at a TV screen, and it said Lake Havasu. And I looked at him and I'm like, hi. And he goes, I've been waiting for you. I don't give a shit what he said at that point. I was like, okay, let's go, man. And the oddest thing came out of my mouth. I go, well, wait, can you do that? Can you do that? And I asked him, can you do that? Jet ski on Lake Havasu? And he's like, yeah, come on, we're out. And boom, it was like I just met Jesus himself. And off we went. And I won't go into the details, but it was physical sexual heaven. But the details as light workers that I got to tell you how everything dovetailed into my reality was, he lived in the attic of his parents' home, and there was a white cat. And there has always been white cats in my life ever since, constantly showing up. But he had a scar of a knife wound in his heart and a tattoo of an ankh. And he is, if you put the photos of me as a child and the photos of him next to each other, the same soul. It's beyond deniable. Now, back then, I didn't know. I knew a little bit. I didn't know that I knew what I knew, but I couldn't put it into words back then. But he and I you guys call them twin flames. I don't call it that. I just see it as like God stretching itself far enough away to look at itself. And he and I were like crazy energy to be reckoned with, right? Off we went, boom, across the country to Native American reservations and to the Sundance. And it was so timeless and so, thank God, off the grid, literally off the grid. Now I can say it. I couldn't have said it back then because I didn't know what we were doing, but now I get what we were doing. We were the star seeds that agreed to come to Earth and laid down grid work here that other people could follow. So when I listened to Abraham Hicks and Esther and Jerry like traveling across the country in their RVs, I'm like, yeah, we laid that shit down. I remember that shit. I was there. Yuma, Phoenix. It's so funny. But we were already there before they got there, and it's so funny. So at any rate, back then, I didn't know what he and I were doing. There was a level of his consciousness that knew a lot of stuff that we were doing, which was over my head, took me to ashrams. I met like major masters that like the minute I laid eyes on them, they knew me more than I knew me. And my favorite memory was this one guy, this one superstar master. He looked at me and he goes, she's actually in there. And I was like, yeah, I'm in here. But it dawned on me later that I am carrying the 0 point. Now, if you're Daryl Anka and you're Bashar and I tell you I'm carrying the 0 point and I'm not shitting your ass, that'll make sense to you. And if you're an awakened starseed and I tell you I'm carrying the 0 point and I can actually handle it and substantiate that won't rock your world. I had to personally, as an ego mind, argue with Jesus to be like, I have this linear life history, but yet I get the 0. I know I'm carrying the 0 point. How do I go out into the world and like discuss that and explain that to people without sounding like I'm egotistical? And so I've been in training myself. Like they've all been training me that, Christina, you have to do this so that they have a touchstone. Oh, that's a great way to say it. They have a touchstone of someone who, with Jesus, because I can't say I did it on my own. I literally had to call Jesus in. With Jesus, was able to substantiate the 0 point in themselves so that you can substantiate the 0 point in yourself and all this, and that we're all 0 points at different points in time and space. And I was like, damn, that's cool. But at the same time, what a great challenge. Not really fun for me personally. I mean, but a great one to do this. So, I'm not going to name my dude because he and I have spoken since, and he's like, I don't want anything to do with humanity. My job, I did my job. I woke your ass up. I reminded you of Egypt. I reminded you of who you are. And I was like, all right, I have one question. If I was to tell the world who I am from another soul's perspective, I don't have words to describe what I've been through. So who did you see me as? What did you see? What would you call it? What do you remember? What do you remember? What do you recollect of us doing this game, this thing? And he was like, oh, you're the high priestess. You control the one. You're a high priestess who like moves us around. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense, because that explains why I love everybody so much and I'm so addicted and attached to everybody being happy, and I'm so committed to the fact that I want you guys to get this stuff. I want you to understand the Bible. I want you to understand Egypt. I want you to know who you are as children of the one. And it's weird to know the one and be the one and talk like the one. But I have to say it back to, yeah, I can tell you I'm the one. But so are you, because there's only one. So there's like different paths of the one, talking, communicating, blogging, singing. What's the importance of all that? This is an important point. What's the importance of all that? Because Earth was created. This is the most embarrassing thing I will ever say, and it's the honest to God truth. Earth, as a reflection of your imagination, was created because the one was lonely. Well, alone. Because if there's one, then you're alone. So that soul intentionally, for love, exploded in every possible direction. Other ones. And so I perform my little show and you watch me and applaud and say, yay, go you, rock star. And you do yours and I say, yay, go you. Because, let me see if I can make this visual. Don't laugh at me for using my board, but I gotta use the board. And this is how it rolled. When there's one and it explodes a family out there, these lines, literally leading to the other ones, are your experiences, your experiences. I don't have a better word. I mean, these are your things. These are your moments. So a loving one pays attention and cares about these and this and this and this and this and this, and this one cares about that one, and this one cares about that one, and 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 that one. And we keep going to appreciate the different vital expressions, because this one, to have the time to appreciate this expression, does not have the time to appreciate this one as well as you can, as that one can, and that one can, and that one can. So everyone's gifted with the same energy and the same power, all reflecting back to the one, just joy and love. And it's really that simple, but it got really out of hand. True confessions of a God force. Because some of these ones felt disconnected from the original source, and therefore started sort of demanding, like greedy little buggers, that these other guys forget about their expressions and give them up and deny them and pretend they're not important, and honoring this one's oneness of itself, and then forgot about this, and it became, well, quite screwed up, basically. So we have Jesus and many other masters, but Jesus is my favorite because it's an English language best-selling book in the world. Jesus comes into a human body to say to other humans everything he said. I'm not going to get too deep there. As an example, to reflect back to everybody that, like, no, this is meant to be a celebration, not a power play. And he did everything he was meant to do, and he says it's in Hebrews where he sits down and says, it's done. You know, he did it. It's done means I laid it out there as an example. The sad part about that is whether they get it or not is out of his hands, because that's your free will. You've got to take like 100,000 steps back and say, let's look at this from a new perspective. And so when Jesus and I argue, as we often do, especially when we're out west on a Native American reservation in a sweat lodge, he doesn't, have any more work to do here. He did his work. But he's here, believe me. And I realized, oh, well then my job then is to step in and substantiate what you already did, what he did. So I'm happy to do that, though I'm still getting used to it, as all light workers are, right? It's yeah. And I'm really happy that I'm not alone. And thank you, Bashar Darylenka. You always say that. Just remember, you're not alone. You exist. So I get what I get, and I get the whole universe and universes, and then I jump so many timelines, it's insane. So my current chosen path is to be like, all right, you guys, let's start with some basics. Let's start with some really, I call them basic to me. I call the Bible a basic tool. Let's start with some basic tools that not everybody understands, and let's deconstruct them and decode them and bring them down into a simplistic, as best we can, simplistic, logical, scientific level, in such a way that you can embrace them without feeling like you don't get it. And that's important, because the reason it's important that you feel like you get it and you can embrace them and play with them is because that's what they're for. It's like, in creating the Son, so that the firstborn of the dead, that would be Jesus himself, Son, reflecting back to you what you're doing, in creating a light force that allows you the ability to be like, babies in the womb can't see, right? They're happy in the dark, and then they come out into the light and they're like, whoa, there's a lot, whoa, dang, there's not just there's so much to see. Creating a star that's going to reflect back to you guidance was intentional, so that not just you can see what you're doing, but so that you can enjoy it more. That's it. And you could be floating out in space in nothing and just playing in your imagination. That's awesome. I mean, go to bed at night, have a good dream. That's amazing. But to actually, this is my microphone, to physically see it and look at it and see the word blue and the snowball and go to a rock concert and meet other people and see them face to face and have those communications on a level that allows you to savor them, that's even better. So light is really slow. Those people think it's fast. It's actually not. It's really super slow. But it's a gift to more deeply take in and digest and enjoy all of creation. And somewhere along the line it got lost. The message got lost, and people thought it was about hoarding and being rich and making slaves for your empires or something. No, not at all. So I am stepping up to the plate at a time in history where there are ETs and futuristic people out there and historical pharaohs and Egyptians back there and Christs somewhere on those parallel lines, all of which have crisscrossed through my consciousness in my lifetime. Pardon me, I'm sorry, I'm yawning. It's really late. That keep telling me you're the cross point. I'm like, okay, just tell me what to say. So I chose, and sometimes I'm going to jump into it and sometimes I'm going to jump out of it, but I basically chose the Bible because once I decoded the Bible, I was like, people totally miss this book. And no offense to the Pope. I hang out with a priest once a week. I love the church. But I don't always like the way the church rolls. Not that I want to get into that. Because the church, the big church, rolls all day, every day. The church is like the sun and the earth and animals and life. Even Jesus himself was not a Catholic or a Christian. People don't talk about that. Jesus was Jewish, technically, but he was also just a guy who told you, as I have done, so can you, and more. No mystery, no big deal. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense about when I'm decoding the Bible and I'm deconstructing all of this. What I'm really doing is taking on a book that has been used to hurt people, and I'm going to, sadly for some and joyfully for others, deconstruct it to a place where, like, I don't care if you're a stripper and I don't care if you're a nun. There's joy here for you, and that's what you're made for. And that's what this book is all about, is like people that took the time to put pen or, charcoal to paper or parchment or scrolls to try to leave messages to you from a different parallel time frame to say, we're in this for love. And the people who took the time to make this happen for you, they dedicated their lives, their entire lives, to proving God's love. If that went over your head, then go back to basics. The entire point is to prove God's love. Period. The end. New earth, new heaven. These beings spent their lives to prove love. Don't miss that. So whether you read the Gospels or you read the Old Testament or you read about Abraham or you read about Ezra, Nehemiah, Micah, anybody, every single time you go to this book for reference or guidance, just remember somebody somewhere took the time to leave me a note about, it's okay, wherever I am, there's a path for love. Now, maybe your story isn't in here on the level that you are living it because your story is a news story, but that's what they did, and that's what it was for. And God's not going to let that get lost, ever. And I will stand up for Jesus all day, every day to say, thank God I decoded this thing, because people really miss the mark on some levels, and that's okay. We can get back to the mark. That, like, mark on people's foreheads in their right hand. It's all about love. So as you traverse the scary place with Christina of, like, that woman's nuts. She's going to actually take down the Bible. No, we're not going to take it down. We're just going to read it in a different holographic, cosmic way, not from a linear Genesis to Revelation. We're going to read it from Genesis is here, Revelation's here, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John might be here, Daniel happens here, Job happens here, but they all ratchet into one perfect universe, reflecting God speaking through all these entities to himself from different perspectives, leaving infinite love notes to himself, itself, herself, I don't care what you call it, but leaving infinite love notes to all of his creations, that it's all about love. That's it. That's the Sacred Heart, peace, hand, divine mercy, all of it. It's all love. It's in there, it's out there,